What's up, good people? Welcome into Montgomery and Company. I'm Renee Montgomery, and I used to be a pro. You know what I'm saying? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I used to play in the WNBA, as you guys know, okay, but today is about being a pro. Like, we know pros, we've seen pros, but being a pro can involve all things in all professional levels. We have Nia Coffey coming on the show today, professional athlete for the Atlanta Dream. We have Hostin coming on the show today, a lawyer, author, host, professional in every sense of the term. And then as a crew, we're going to just talk about being a pro, because everybody has to be a professional at some point in their life, whether it's business or even taking care of your personal business. So that's what we're talking about today. Be a pro. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about culture. There's heat culture because, this is the Le Batard Network, and we're here. And we got to show love because Florida is having themselves a year. The Heat advanced to the NBA Finals after a wild loss in Game 6 against the Celtics. And now the Panthers are in the finals as well. They're facing up against the Vegas Golden Knights. So shouts to Florida, man, okay? Miami, all of that. But really what I wanted to keen in on was heat culture. And I'm going to talk about it with the crew because there's certain things that you recognize as an athlete. And I see it. Like, I'm letting the Miami Heat know I see you. And it's been talked about a lot. It's almost been made fun of when the Heat aren't playing well. People are like, oh, heat culture. And it's almost been like a little thing we mock. Not me and we, because I know what culture means to a team, but I've seen it on the internet. And now we got to talk about it, though, because heat culture has shown that it really matters what you think. I know that seems like, oh, yeah, it's an athlete thing, but it really matters how you think, how you treat your teammates. Now, I'm not talking about X's and O's, nothing yet. I haven't said nothing about a superstar. How you think, how you treat your teammates, how you train, how you treat your body. These are all like very fundamental staples of heat culture, but also just good culture. Because heat culture is really just good culture, but the Heat have maximized people's potential by making sure that their culture is at the highest level. Shouts to Pat Riley. Gotta shout him out. But when we talk about heat culture as an athlete, I got nothing but respect. I got respect for the guys that walked out there on that court. I'm talking about go back to the play-in game. They walked out on that court in the play-in game, whether you win and you advance or you lose and you go home. They started that journey having to win 2 games to get into the playoffs. So now they're in the playoffs, and look what your reward is for winning 2 games. You get to match up against the number 1 team that everybody honestly thinks is going to win the championship, the Milwaukee Bucks. They looked like they were a machine. Giannis Antetokounmpo, everybody was like, this guy's incredible. The best player voted by his peers in the NBA. That's who they had to match up with in the first round. It's a mentality. They had a mentality that they didn't care. So then, all right, they take down the Giants and everybody's like, incredible. No way you do it again, right? Here comes Boston. You can't make this up. They knocked out the number 1 and 2 team. How? Everybody talks about the undrafted players, but how? It's a culture. It's a mentality that you were already prepared before you got to the game. He didn't just figure out how to be a good team when they got to the playoffs. They have been training, preparing a certain way with their minds and their bodies that when they got to the opportunity that presented itself at hand, they took advantage of it. So for me, that's why I say I can't express how much gratitude, like that's how, we got to give them a clap. That's how you treat a sport. That's how you train. You give it everything. And even when they lost in Game 6, Coach Sproster said, my guys want to tip it up and play right now. Like they was ready to get it back right now. You knew what was going to happen Game 7. They was ready. It's a culture. So this episode, we got Nia Coffey coming up next. She's going to talk about being a pro and how you get there. And we're going to keep talking about it because the Heat, they showing us something, man. Let's get it.
This might be like not good for me to say, but I really didn't lift like that consistently for a while. So this offseason,
you felt it.
This offseason, I was like, there's gonna be more.
Wow.
No, seriously, it really does change the game.
You look like you're in hella good shape.
Oh
I was meaning to tell you that.
Thank you. I worked really hard on that.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
Wow, yes, thank you. That makes me feel good. Because it's not, you gotta, even 3 days off, you come back,
and it's a nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
People don't understand. That's why I be trying to tell people, it really is, sports is a nightmare because you could work out 5 months. What happens you take a week off and you don't?
We actually, me and AD, we've been going from like October all the way to like, I think April. And they were like, okay, take a week off. And then we'll come back 2 weeks before
y'all
training
been in the
camp.
gym though. Hold on a
No,
second.
we've been in the gym. We've been in the gym and we've been consistent, like whatever. We took a week off and that Monday we came back, we were playing pickup. Like everyone and their mom was there, Coach T, the GM. We were trying to play. I was like, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I was just, they were playing full court. I was playing half court. I was like, what is this? I was feeling all good about myself. And I was like, I was like, never again.
That's a real athlete struggle because it's like the balance. This is what I have this term, I call it athlete guilt, right? It's like you want to enjoy your days off, but but you don't want to take too many days off. And you have to rest your body so you don't hurt. So like if you had to explain what athlete guilt is when people ask you to hang out, tell them why you may not want to stay up till 1 knowing we have practice the next day. Like they don't get it.
It's not guilty for me. I have my boundaries. You're gonna know I gotta be home, not even home before the sun goes down. You're not gonna have me out, especially I have like practice the next day. I'm doing my stretches. I'm doing my rehab at night. I'm icing. The next morning, I'm making sure I get my meals in. I'm planning all that. I don't feel bad. You don't have to show up on the court. I do. So we can have fun in different ways. Just don't ask me before.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't feel bad anymore. I used to feel bad. I'm like, oh, I can push it. I would show up to practice the next day. I'm like, am I going to still be on the team? Like, no, I was like, I don't feel bad anymore. My friends and parents know, especially during season, don't mess with me.
Okay, so this is great. I'm glad you said that because like, what about when you have a boo thing and they have life too? I mean, because this is a real thing that athletes have to figure out because it's like, what if this is their big event? And we saw it on Love and Basketball. You got a big game the next day. They have a big event that night. Like, how are you going to now?
A lot of communication. Maybe if there's an event, like I'll show up. We could do little cute pictures, like, but after a certain time, like I showed up for you. Now I got to show up for myself.
What if they're like, you're leaving me on my day? Like you're leaving me. Because I don't think people realize. I want to talk to the athlete perspective of we have to balance work, family, career. That's not the same as somebody that works a normal corporate job.
Yeah.
We have a game where we go on display. So you leaving them could feel like a bit, these are hard questions because these are things really that happens. Tom Brady had problems with this because he has his TB12. He's like, look, I got to be in bed by 10. Giselle is like, I got to be on the red carpet starting at 10.
Yeah, that's tough.
Are you single?
Like, I am. So I'm like, technically I haven't had to worry about this, but no, I feel like those have been some things that I had thought about because if someone doesn't truly understand, especially your intentions too, that's gonna be a problem. If there's a lot of communication, we're like, hey, I'm showing up for you at this time, but I still have to show up for myself. I am compromising.
I love that.
I'm showing up for you, but you have to show up for me too, knowing I gotta do my part. Cause like, you don't want me just not doing anything. Like I'm still trying to hustle and grind myself. So like, let's respect it. Let's come together when we can and just like have understanding when I gotta go.
I love it.
And vice versa too. So
let's get into the hustle and grind. I mean, you are on the team, but I love that because people don't understand those dynamics, but you're on the dream now. I mean, you had a killer off season. How does the off season like propel you into the season?
Yeah. Well, this was my first off season staying home, not going overseas and just literally working on my body, like rehabbing, doing all that stuff. And I just have a better understanding of how my body works, what my body needs now.
Wow. And what year is this for you?
This is 7. And I'm like,
no, but it's important to know.
Oh, now that I think about it, I was tripping my first couple years. I was just like coming on the court, just doing whatever. I'm like, I cannot do that. I won't do that now. Like I love myself too much. And I know like
Nia,
later in the day.
I played with Nia Coffey, so this is like,
and
this is a different
I wasn't
Nia
stretching. I wasn't drinking no water. I wasn't doing nothing. Now I have a certain amount of ounces I need. I got a certain amount of like meals I need at certain times.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Nia Coffey, welcome to be.
I know, it's crazy. I'm like, this is not just like a come to practice. No, I gotta make sure I'm getting my naps in, getting my recovery, it's an all day.
I was her vet, by the way, guys.
I know,
so it's crazy.
I know. I'm like, it's a whole new person. Yeah, it's crazy.
And so, what are your goals this season? Like on the court, off the court, but what are the goals for Nia Coffey?
Honestly, my goal for this season, and I know it might be a little subjective, like I just want to do my role and be the best at my role. Whatever the team needs, whatever that means daily for whatever game, if I got to lock someone up, like that is my part. Like I don't want to be in my head where like, I need to get this and this and this. So like, no, what does the team need? I want to be the best at that. And because everything else will fall together, anything else, like God's going to do his part, I'm going to do my part. And yeah.
Nia Coffey, man, thank you for coming through. Congrats.
Oh my gosh, thank
this
you.
is crazy.
I know.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank
You get
you.
it. Like, you get it. So,
It takes a while.
it does, but that's why I asked, because I just had Leah Brown in here, and I'm like, what things do you wish you knew 2 weeks ago? And
Yeah.
she's like, I had no idea how physical the WNBA was. And, so it's like every player at every year is going to have these maturations. She just now is worrying about just the physicality.
Right.
But she'll get to the water, the ounces, and everything later. But
I'm telling them, they're not hearing it, but I'm like, look,
you wasn't
one
hearing
day.
it. I was telling you.
Yeah, one day.
Appreciate it,
Yeah.
man. Thank you
So
coming
good to
through.
see you
I'm
for
so happy.
sure.
You know I'm on the
Thank you.
sidelines going crazy.
Oh,
but let
all
me
the
wrap
time.
this
I
up
see
like a
y'all.
normal interview, because this is not always. Thank you for coming through.
For
Enjoy
sure,
your
for
Dustle
sure.
MoCo.
Thank you for having me.
Dope.
Shouts to Nia Coffey, man. Like, I played with her overseas. I played with her in the WNBA. And the way that she's changed and grown, Heat culture, baby. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk more about it with the crew. Okay, so we got the crew here with me right now, and we rolling deep today, all right? Like, we want to get eyes on everybody. Danny, we got Juju, we got Roy that pulled up, and as y'all can see, it's a Heat, you know what I'm saying? There's a Heat vibe going on because the Miami Heat just advanced to the NBA Finals to play against the Denver Nuggets, and it's crazy because the thing about the Heat that everybody's now talking about, because we've heard everything we can hear about the undrafted players, shouts to all of them for getting themselves a bag. That's the thing I love hearing the most. Like, I know a bag is coming for Caleb Martin and all of them, but we keep hearing about Heat culture. So I'm going to start out first. I want Roy, Juju, like, how would y'all describe what is Heat culture? Because we keep on hearing this, so folks might not actually know what it is. Like, how would you describe what that is?
It's the hardest working. It's basically cocaine. That's all it is. It's cocaine to the soul of the city of Miami.
Oh, my God.
So it's hardworking. That's what I took from that.
No, it's hard working. It's dedication. It's time in the gym. It's tireless, like being annoying defensively. Like it's all practice all the time. It's just the hardest working team in the entire league. And that's basically
Heat
what
culture.
they are.
So that's and Juju, I want to hear from you too, because this is what, like, I'm only saying this because the Heat team believes that this is what got them right here, Juju.
Yeah, it's the culture. It's the thing that resonates from the end of the bench to the starters, from the concession popcorn man all the way to the video cameraman that ends up being the head coach of the Miami Heat.
Facts.
You feel me? I think it's just organizational unity that spreads throughout and belief in each other that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. And not only you can do it, I'm going to tell you over and over you can do it until I see you do it.
That is facts. Like,
I
that
can
is
feel that,
perfect. Yeah. Go ahead, babe.
Oh no, I was saying I can see that. I can feel that from the Heat fans.
Definitely.
And I've never been to the Miami Heat arena, but I can definitely see it being that way.
Definitely, because like basically Miami prides themselves on being the ultimate pros. Like that's everything y'all are describing. That's what every coach would want their professional athlete to be or act like. They want you to believe in yourself, to work the hardest out of anybody out there, to pump energy into your teammates. We want, even with the Atlanta Dream, we want our arena rocking. Like you said, concession stand better be popping. If you greeting folks at the door, it's a whole, that's why they call it culture. They're not saying like Heat philosophy, Heat energy. They say it's a culture over there. That's like the ultimate level of professionalism. And that's what like, and honestly, we got to start believing it because Eric Spoelstra and them stood 10 toes down on it. An 8 seed, beat a number 1 seed, a number 2 seed to get to the finals. So that made me think about like, all right, so being a pro then what is being a pro? Because like there's a professional, like Roy, I've considered Roy a very professional human, right?
I mean,
like
everybody
Roy,
on this call is a professional in their field.
Not
Yeah,
recently.
I mean, I know,
Not
but
recently.
Yeah,
Now with
Juju,
both
you
my
are a
teams in the championship.
professional. Hold on,
In
because
your
we're gonna have to.
field.
Let me give
Professional
you some heat
joker.
culture, Juju. Let me tell you about you. Juju is not just a social media manager, as everybody. I'm telling y'all stuff y'all already know, but he's not only that. He's a talent on camera. He comes up with very
Multi-talented.
creative angles. This is called a professional social media manager. Yes, Juju, that's you. Roy,
Yes.
a professional sound engineer, but also a professional lead producer. All of that, like these are professionals that we have here.
Exactly.
So what makes a professional? Like, you know what I mean? Like what? Because a lot of people really like profession is changing, I would say, but what makes a professional now? Because clearly it still works with the Miami Heat.
Okay, well, let me just jump in here. You can be a professional where you can be an individual on the team. You're the sole person. And then you can be a team where there's other people who make up or you work with to get that success. And so I think in today's culture, one of the things I find out is that sometimes people who are on teams think of themselves still as individuals and they don't look at the other team. They think only about, and I say this a lot, about this culture, some of the younger generations, it's me, and that usually doesn't work. But I think one of the main things is to be on one mindset, and I think that's what you're talking about here, from the popcorn stand to the coach or whatever. Everybody has the same mindset. There's
What was that on drill? One
individualism.
band, one sound. Yes, sir. Let's go.
Yes. And another thing is, don't listen to the noise. And I'm talking more so about sports right now. A lot of people, you can get pumped up. Look, I've put a lot of noise in Renee's head.
Yeah, Snook gonna get thrown out of the dream games now. We got, you know what I'm saying? Like Snook is getting very close. We getting a lot of looks from the refs.
But you don't listen to the noise. I'm talking even outside of the game. People will tell you, oh, they did you wrong, this, that, and then you get
No
a
excuses.
chip on your shoulder, and then that affects your game or whatever. So you got to, know what your value is, know what you can do and what you can't do, and then be a team player. That's one of the main things, is be a team player.
Okay,
That hurts more.
Snooka coming through
She's
with
giving
the
the
team player
criteria.
nuggets. Cole, give me some heat culture, but make it professional.
You have to be willing to be past sometimes a deadline of, if you're supposed to work from 8 to 5, it might be 8 to 8.
You might have to put in some
Overtime.
extra
But
hours.
that is also not to say that. Also, I think a lot of professional people have to understand, and I think this is what burnt out certain generations, and that the younger generation has figured out, is that you have to have a balance. So a lot of professionals, they work hard, but they also need to have downtime, rest, and things of that nature, mental health and wellness on top of being a professional. And that makes you more professional, because then you clear your head, you come back to it, and it doesn't seem like such a heavy weight or a daunting weight, and you are more successful. So I think it's a couple of things that you have to figure out when you're professional, is when to be professional and when not to be professional.
Oh, when to set it off up in this. Okay.
That's it.
I love that. Babe, what you think? Give me heat culture, but make it professional.
Well, I mean, I think that what it takes to be a pro, I think, first of all, you can't get around the 10,000 hours. I mean, I know that that's like an old school thing, but I feel like the younger generation, they want instant gratification. They want things to happen right away. And then that's why we get burnt out, because we overwork ourselves. And yes, you, like to Cole's point, you do need rest, but then you also do need to work almost relentlessly for this goal and put in your hours, and there is no shortcut. So I think that, number one, there's no shortcut to success, and you have to educate yourself. Like, you can't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a journalist, or I'm going to be a basketball player, I'm going to do this or something. Like, you have to educate yourself, you have to train, you have to go to college, you have to, whatever it is, whatever process it is that for you to prepare yourself to become that, you need that credential, because if you don't have that credibility, you're not a professional. I'm sorry.
I hope y'all starting to think
like-
about, does this sound like the Heat team? I mean, I'm just being for real, because people are going to start to realize, and I'm coming to you, Roy, because people are going to realize sports and life are synonymous. Roy, what's up?
Well, the official mantra of heat culture is this: that the hardest working, best conditioned, most professional, unselfish, toughest, meanest, nastiest team in the National Basketball Association. That's according to team president Pat Rowley has instituted that as a mantra.
Okay.
And I mean, but think about that. Think about everything everybody's saying. Like, that describes the Heat team. Juju, what you thinking?
It's a little more to that. Also, living la vida loca.
Living la vida loca. I'm not gonna lie though, that's actually a good point, because like being a pro, like Nia Coffey, y'all heard her talk about it, and she's like, I'm telling her like, girl, it's fine. Like, some athletes literally never figure out to be a pro. That's how you see players, what they call a bust. It's not that that player wasn't good enough. It's that it takes a lot more each level you go up. So if they didn't put in that extra work, they start to sizzle out and not be who you thought they were. But when you talk about that living la vida loca, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this week I'm pulling, like June 9th, I'm pulling up to Minnesota. They announced me as one of the Minnesota Lynx top 25 players. And one of the things about, thank you, fam. And one of the things about that was like, we had a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like, our Minnesota Lynx teams in the locker room before we went out, I'm talking about it was like Magic City in there. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, we had money guns and we was turned up. Like, we turned ourselves up. We legit have fun. And then when we won a championship in 2015, we went and partied with Prince. And I'm not even surprised that happened, because it was our vibe the whole time. He pulled up to our games. It was like we were a vibe.
So what you're saying is you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the ride.
Like, even if, because it's like this, if you got to clock in anyway, how you clock in is up to you. Like, you got to be there 3 hours. Are you going to be Sour Patch Kid for 3 hours? Are you going to be like, all right, man, we ain't here for 3 hours. What we doing? Like, that's kind of how my whole mentality for life. It's like, if I'm going to pull up, I'm a show out, or I'm going to have fun, because I got to be here anyway. And so I think that Juju really makes a good point, that the teams that are like, honestly, I felt like Boston was that team. They were about their business. They were very blue collar. Like, they work hard. They're all of those things, but sometimes you can almost squeeze too tight. You got to loosen up a little bit. You got to you got to be loose enough to want to make a mistake. Like, I've taken some game winners in my life. If I'm worried about missing it, I missed it. Like, every time I take a game winner, I'm like, oh, snap. Like,
and that's a good point, too. You can't be afraid to fail. Like, because successful people have failed a million times.
Multiple times. I'm kind of afraid, though. I'm kind of afraid, though. The more we talk about this, now that we have NIL, I think that's going to change everything.
You think so?
I do.
I don't know, man.
I do. And the reason why I say that is because the fruits of your labor usually didn't happen until you became pro. And now these kids are getting the fruits of their labor before they even get out of high school.
But it can work either way.
It can work both ways. Yeah. But the gravity of how many it may affect is the problem I have. It's like, you're always going to have. There was a couple of kids who were superstars before they even went to college, before they was in high school, but they weren't able to cash out on it, and it showed because it just carried through their professional.
Like, they had to work their way.
Yes,
yeah, you almost working towards that check. Like, all my life, been grinding all my life. It ain't if you was rich all your life or lit all your life, you might not be grinding all your life.
Exactly.
That's true.
So I'm just scared of the multitude.
I hope y'all don't lose y'all's edge now that y'all getting a coin, because I want y'all to get y'all's coin.
Stay gritty.
But before we tap out of this, because we got some Heat fans in here, so I know that they're, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm gonna get predictions before the final start. It's a very difficult thing to do, and literally, like, people pay me to go on TV to say what I think is gonna happen. And I hope that everybody has seen from these playoffs that don't nobody know what's about to happen. So I have no problem saying that as an NBA analyst. We're all making educated guesses. Yes. So before we get it popping into the finals. Yeah, like, Snooker Booker, we coming to you. I'm gonna come to you first, Snooker Booker. What y'all think it's gonna look like? Denver and what, or Miami and what? How many games?
Well, I'm going with Miami. I've gone with them the whole series of the playoffs. I've been behind Miami the whole time, and I think it's going to be Miami in 6 games. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say too, one of the things with Pat Riley's team, and possibly Boston too, I think that especially with Miami, though, I think he's got his players educated enough to know what it is to be a pro player, to get your life together, and that, you can't be going out doing all kinds of things and then not expect it to affect your game. So, get your life together when you're playing or whatever, because although this is not on the court, it's off the court, it might enter the court if you are doing some crazy
Wise
stuff.
words. Yes, wisdom.
You better get ready. We don't have to give me a breakdown, but what y'all got? What you got, Cole?
Oh, I want a sweep. I want Miami to walk them off the floor in 4 games. That's exactly what I want. I don't want no competition. I want Miami to come out there, embarrass them.
What about us, Cole?
Guess what, Renee? I never wanted that for you, and I don't want that for them. I just wanted Renee and them to go out there and flat out beat everybody, the brakes off everybody, and let's go home. I don't like this. Let's go back and forth. Let's hold hands, have fun.
Come on, man. I want a party. I want a show. Serena, what you got?
I want to know. Okay, so we're all going for Heat. I mean, for the Heat. Okay, that's established. Yes, I'm going for the Heat. But I'm with Snook. I got Miami in 6 because I want a little bit of a dog fight, but I don't want to go all the way to Game 7 because Game 7s are too stressful, and so it will be like 3-3. I want to be up 3-2 and then just finish it off. And
I know that's
let
right,
me
sis.
break it
I
up
agree,
in
sis.
between
I
the
agree.
Miami guys. Then so maybe I am a basketball analyst then, because listen, I know that we are a part of the Lebitard Show Network. Dan, I see you laughing, and I'm happy for you, my brother. But it's like, the Denver Nuggets have been this same Denver Nuggets team since the beginning of the season. They have not done anything to make me think any different. The only reason I think that everybody feels differently is because of what we just watched with Heat culture and what they did to what we thought the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm comfortable saying everybody thought that it was either the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics that should be in the NBA Finals.
Yep.
A lot of people had Boston.
That was the conversation all year. So now my logic brain is saying it's Denver Nuggets in 7. But the Heat culture of it all, I know what that dog is like. Like, I know what it's like to be standing beside a dog and I'm looking at them and we barking at each other and it's like, they don't know what we know. And so I feel like Miami is in their locker rooms barking like they don't know what we know. We have, injuries this season. We had a slow start. We had players in and out of the lineup. So I'm giving y'all my full on Denver in 7, but I feel like we don't know what Miami knows. What y'all got? Let me go with you, Juju. What you got?
Sure, I'm gonna go with Denver and 4. Goddamn.
I was wrong.
It's over with. I'm just playing.
I was like, what?
All of our jaws dropped.
I was shocked.
That was quite frankly the best. That was the best gotcha I've ever had, because I was like, are you serious?
Clutching
Yeah,
our
for
pearls.
comedic purposes.
Thank you, Danny. Clip that.
I think Miami, they'll find a way, bro. They'll find a way to get under their skin. And I think the injuries are going to be the part. I'm not sure who's going to have one, but I think somewhere during this series,
And that does it.
going to play a factor. And hopefully it's not the Heat. So I'm going to go with Heat in 5 games.
Okay,
Hey,
okay. Roy, now I'm hearing something about Tyler Hero got cleared to kind of get a little active on the court. So I'm just throwing that out there for our listeners that may not know that things could happen. I don't know, but what you feeling, Roy? Because Roy, okay, first of all, Roy is living his best life. Shouts to the Panthers. I want to make sure we shout out the Panthers. I'm saying the city is alive. Florida is alive. The Panthers are in the finals. The Heat are in the final. Look, I mean, y'all feeling good. It really is living la vida loca.
It's a
You're
good
right,
year
Roy.
for Florida for sports.
He got that thing on the hanger. He got that thing hung up.
Crispy pressed, honey. Yes, Roy. So what you feeling, Roy? What you thinking?
Panthers in 6. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Wrong sport.
Yeah, I got the Heat
That's
in
good to
7.
know, though.
Heat in 7.
Heat
We
in
won
7,
7 games.
So you
Panthers
wanted
in
game
6.
7.
No, Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's like, I want as many games as possible.
Yes, like we are fans. Like I want to see what is Jimmy Butler going to do in game 1 through 7. I want to see it. I want to see if the Joker is going to be a triple double monster that shuts everything down. But I want 7 games. So
So we're all across the board. So let's see which one of us is right.
All right.
Everybody chose something different.
Yeah,
Who
I
y'all
want the
think
Heat
gonna
to
be
set the
MVP?
stage. I'm sorry.
No, my bad. It's my fault.
No, I like that though. We're coming back to that, Juju. What's up, Snook?
I want the Heat to set the stage and take game 1.
Okay, I like that. Snook said get out the gates, but I like that. Early MVP predictions. And side note, man, Caleb Martin, we see you. Okay. We see you, Caleb. That was supposed to be yours. I know it. Okay,
He
so
lost out on the MVP by 1 vote.
1 vote.
And
so
it was Reggie
Jimmy-
Miller. Reggie Miller was that 1 vote, even though he said that Martin deserved the MVP. He voted
So
for
that's the thing about
Jimmy Butler.
individual awards. We were talking about being a pro. That's why it can't be about me. Because if Caleb Martin went missing after he didn't get that trophy in a sense of being a Sour Patch Kid, unacceptable. That's not professional.
Right.
So early MVP picks for the finals. Let's start the reverse way this time. Roy, who you got? Early MVP picks.
Duncan Robinson. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Y'all are
No,
comedians.
my
today.
God.
It's going to be Jimmy. It's going to
be
end up being
Jimmy.
Yeah.
It's going to be Jimmy. It might be a Jimmy sweep. Juju, what you got?
I got Caleb Martin because
Okay.
without him, I don't see without him doing what he did last series, they can't do anything
Facts.
next series.
True.
It's gonna be up to him and people like Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets, like the role players.
Facts.
I think Caleb
I'm
Martin.
going with the undrafted as well.
So, okay. So I like that. So who you got, Snook?
I'm going with the undrafted, one of the undrafted players.
Oh, she done pick. See, Snook loves to play the field. It be like, this is what happened when we told her to pick one show. She gonna pick a genre, black soap operas or something. It's like, so Snook's taking the field. Now she got a way higher percentage, but we'll give it to you. Cole, who you got for
Jimmy.
VIP?
Jimmy.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
I got Jimmy too. Yeah.
Okay, so Serena and Nicole got Jimmy buckets. Man, it's just crazy because this is a very heat call. I'm thinking that Joker, I didn't know I would be an outlier.
I know. Oh wait, the Denver Nuggets are in this too.
I'm picking the Joker. I think that his numbers are going to automatically, if Denver makes it in 7, which is my prediction, Denver in 7, I think that what will follow that is a Nikola Jokic getting his trophy, because I will feel like if he doesn't do what he can do, they're not going to win. So
Well, he has a score in 4 quarter. Can we get some scoring in 4 quarter? Because that seems to be the problem. So he can't go a whole 4th quarter like he did with everybody else and not score. That's just not going to work.
Listen,
Miami.
it's not going to work. Then Jimmy Butler going to end up, or somebody else going to end up being the MVP, but we shall see. What we were trying to tell y'all was, there's being a professional and then there's heat culture. So you need to take your heat culture and take it to wherever you do your work. It could be heat culture as a mom where you own your P's and Q's, baby. Got the snackies ready. That's not only what moms do, all right? Shouts to the moms. But I'm just saying. Or it could be in the office where I bring my heat culture every day to the office. I like to be a little over prepared. It's like kind of my toxic trait too. But heat culture, baby. The finals are coming up. And we got Sunny Hostin coming up next, who, okay, a lawyer, an author, a host, award winner. I mean, she's the ultimate professional. Talk about it, Sunny. Black excellence coming up next. We have 3-time Emmy award-winning legal journalist, co-host of The View, and New York Times bestseller, but not just for one. This is the author of both The Summer of the Bluffs and Summer on Sag Harbor. Welcome, Sunny Hostin, to Montgomery and Company.
I love your energy. Thank you so much for having me.
No, I love it because I love when I see people winning. I'm an athlete at heart.
Yes.
And Summer on Sag Harbor was a New York Times bestseller list. There's very few people that have accomplished what you have. I mean, you have an incredible career. How did you find out you made the bestseller list? And I mean, I know you're not new to this, but were you surprised?
I was shocked. I mean, the first book, you know, it's interesting when I pitched the first book to a couple of publishing houses, the response was like, well, I don't know. Are Black women really going to read a beach read? Is it really something that there's a market for? And I was like, yeah, there's a market for it. I read a lot of beach reads. Terry McMillan sold a lot of books. I'm pretty positive that there's a market out there for it. And I only got one publishing house that said that they believed in my vision. That was HarperCollins and my particular wonderful editor, Carrie Farron. And within the first week, I think it sold over 20,000 copies.
I know you lying.
And most books sell about 5,000 copies during their entire life span, right? And so after that, I got a lot more interest.
Yeah, you think?
And we decided that it would be a trilogy. And I wrote the second book, but I was scared because once you hit that number, that New York Times bestseller, and not only do you sell 5,000 books or 10,000 books, you sell 20,000 books, and they kept on selling. I got writer's block because I didn't want to disappoint the readers. And it took me 2 years to write this book. It was supposed to come out last summer, and I didn't know what to do. So I had a book tour, virtual book tour, and a lot of my readers said, I want to know more about Olivia. I want to know more about Olivia. What happened to Olivia? What happened to Olivia? And I said to my editor, that's that second book. It's here. And I just started writing. And before I knew it, I gave it to my editor. She was like, you got it again. And I was like, we're not going to say that. She
knew it was a hit right when she read it.
I was like, we're not going to say anything like that. The book came out May 2nd. And 2 days later, I got an email from my editor, my publisher, my agent, and it said New York Times instant bestseller. I was like, are you sure? Are y'all making fun? I never heard of like an instant one. Like usually you wait a week and you get a list. They're like, nope.
They was pre-ordering your book. Like they got it. They was ready for it. They was waiting.
They were waiting for it, and it just dropped, and then everybody just bought it. And what was really special to me, I'll tell you, Renee, the most special thing for me was that people then started buying the first book. People that had missed out on the first book started writing the second book. So before I knew it, Summer on Sag was the number one seller on Amazon, but Summer on the Bluffs was number 2.
What? Okay, so hold on, let's get into this because congratulations.
Great.
You know what I'm saying? Congratulations.
But they said Black women don't read. I don't know. I think we read a lot.
I was just about to say, like, people are reading books out here. Like, because I mean, like, you would think, oh, we got company. Okay, so
yeah, that's Luna. She's a rescue. She's a little off, but she's okay.
What up, Luna? For the listeners that don't see, Luna just pulled up on us. It's a cat. But first of all, I didn't really know a lot of people read as like 20,000 in the opening is crazy. But you talked about writer's block, and I know that you and your family, and you come, and let me just do a little context. You grew up in the Bronx, had a Puerto Rican and African American background, and then now you and your family have been vacationing for 20 years, and you're telling a Black elite story, honestly, in the Hamptons and what's going on. So when you said you had writer's block, a lot of people are worried, like, are you writing stories about people around you, like the best man and all that? So what is there inspiration? People want to know what's going on with Olivia. Who is Olivia?
Olivia's my friend Kathy.
Let's go.
I can't even lie. When I first started, my first book was a memoir. So I was just writing about myself and my family and some of my friends. And some of my friends didn't like it. Anna Navarro wasn't happy, and Don Lemon was fine, but my former executive producer, Candy Carter, she didn't like it. And so I was like, I'm just going to write fiction because my mother didn't like the book. So I was like, I'm just going to write fiction. I'll make up the characters, but there's something about your lived experience that seeps into your writing. You just can't help that, I mean, so I summer with a group of people in Oak Bluffs. And for the first book, I did have some of my friends say like, was that me? I said, it was you. You the one that got drunk on the beach.
Let's go. Because that was what I was going to say. Like, but after they got over the shock that it was them, did they kind of like it, lean into it, start to
They
tell
did.
you what they wanted to? Okay, because I would have been like, listen, if you gonna write about me, then let me help you out with Olivia, is what I would have been like if I was your friend.
They did. I mean, Kathy was like, I know that's me, isn't it? But we've been friends since we were 16. And, you know, what was wonderful is she received it very well because we're very, very close. But one of the issues I did want to confront was colorism, because we grew up 16 and 16. You know, my birthday's in October, her birthday's August, my birthday's in October. We're the same age. I tell her she's older than I am, but well, she is, but it's only by 2 months. And I remember growing up, and we would go to parties, and she's stunning. She looks like Naomi Campbell. I mean, she's a very, very stunning person. And she was like, you notice all the men only come up to you? I was like, no, that's not true. She said, no, it is true. It's because you're light skinned. And that's the story of my life. And I was like, I reject that. I reject that premise. But I was rejecting her lived experience, you know, and I still regret that I received it in that way. And I thought, this is probably an issue going on all over our communities. You know, we know it goes on in the white community because the lighter you are, the more accepted you are. And it was hurtful to me that it goes on in the Black community. So I was like, well, you know what? If I'm going to be real and I'm going to write about real experiences and people, I'm going to attack and tackle the real issues, but I'm going to put it in a beach book so that it makes
you put it in a nice, pretty wrapping. Is what
it's like digestible in that way, you know. But the book is for us. It's about us, and I'm just so happy that it started a lot of conversations about gentrification. It started a lot of conversations about infidelity. It's Summer on SAG has started a lot of conversations about seeking therapy and our mental health. It started conversations about what people lost during the pandemic. I mean, I set out to do that. You never know if it's going to be a conversation starter, but it was. And my friends appreciated it. And they thought it was, not all of them, but most of them appreciated it.
No,
And
I love that.
Ball. I've got a little basketball wife section going on. I'm on the WNBA board of advocates, so I played a little ball myself in college. So it's something that was close to me. And my one friend that I write about, she's like, I know that's me, right? I was like, it is, yeah.
I'm the basketball wife, right? I'm the basketball friend, the basketball wife. That is, no, I love that because you're almost like you're addressing issues. And the reason I said wrapped in a pretty bow is because it does have to be digestible. People don't want to get slapped over the head with any information, period. I don't care what it is. And that's the thing about a beach read. When you think of beach reads, you think of light and fluffy, happy, love. And you painted pictures in your book all through it, because I want to read just the first excerpt from the first page. Okay. You say, the day of reckoning had come. A polite but firm phone call from the estate attorney at Kravis, Swain and Moore forced Olivia Jones to face the sins of her godfather. Now, you're painting like a complete picture here. So with a screen adaptation in mind, and we're going to get to this because you are collabing up, but how tight are you going to want it to be to the books and the films? Because we know that there's going to be more coming. We're speaking this, but we know it's going to happen. So are you going to try to keep it close because you wrote it? It's your baby.
Well, that was very important to me, honestly, because I had spoken to a lot of writers who had their books adapted into film, and they give up their story, right? You do get paid, and then they give up their rights to the creative part of it. When it's something you created, I mean, that first book, I created it. That was like blood, sweat, and tears. I write at night. I write from like 11 to 1 a.m. or 11 to 2 a.m. I get up and I do The View. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. It was hard to work, and I loved it so much. So when people started asking me to make this into a television series or a movie, I immediately said, I could be interested, but only if I have co-executive producer credit. I have no interest. It has to say created by, and I have to have EP credit. I'm not giving this away to anybody. And the one person that said, I'll tie my deal to yours was Octavia Spencer.
Come on with it.
She was like, that is not a problem. This is you. This is your book. But then, of course, I said, and will you star in it?
What'd she say?
And she said, if that's what it takes, yeah, I'll star in it. And,
What?
and it was done. I was like, you're giving me credit. You're giving me my due. You're giving me my vision. And we
Star
hired,
power.
and you're giving me your star power. Because she was one of the first people that I gave the book to.
Wow.
And what was really special also is we found a writer, a showrunner, kind of like, we didn't find Shonda Rhimes, but we found Elizabeth Hunter, who wrote Jumping the Broom. For those of you who remember that, Elizabeth has lived on the vineyard. She's of the vineyard. She's from the vineyard. She just gets it. And,
Incredible.
I just feel like it's such a blessing. It's the dream team.
You got a super team. So I'm going to talk to you in sports terms, okay? Because I'm an athlete.
Yes.
You built yourself a super team over there with what y'all are doing. And it really isn't like incredible. You have a deal with Octavia Spencer coming out. So once it starts to happen like this, is it like now that's the goal? Like you plan on writing books that become films, and how much time do you have left? Like, I know you told me your schedule a little bit, but baby, how?
Well, I've always been a writer. I was a journalism major, and this is something that I always wanted to do. I fell into television. It wasn't a plan. So what's great is I'm already 150 pages into the next book, Highland Beach. I'm going there this weekend, actually, just to meet with some elders. Highland Beach is where Frederick Douglass used to summer. That's the other thing that's very important to me. People need to understand that we have had Black excellence forever. We had it in Africa and we had it here too. And so I want to wrap that Black excellence in these beautiful bows of beach reads, but also teach people about our history, because there's a paper genocide going on right now. People are trying to erase. They're erasing us. And so I'm not going to allow that. So I'm already, right in the middle of that book. And then I'm also writing a fantasy book, because that's actually my favorite genre, believe it or not.
Okay,
and
fantasy meaning like what category is that for?
I like things like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Okay.
I love Star Wars. I like fantasy.
Love it.
But my fantasy book starts in Africa, because there aren't enough Black fantasy writers. There are some, but I think I have something that's pretty special that I'm working on. And I'm just going to keep on doing it. My real goal, though, is I have a production company now.
Let's
and
go.
I have the benefit of being on The View, right? That's a huge privilege. I have got 3 million viewers every day. They listen to my point of view. Thankfully, they appreciate, what I have to say. But I want to give voices to others. Everybody has a story. So my goal is to have my own book imprint where I can highlight other authors of color, other women of color, and maybe make their books into films. That's really my goal, and I'm working towards it. I've got my little moniker trademarked, and you'll be seeing a little bit of that. I've taken some meetings, and
you about to take off. I feel like you're slow rolling it. So yes, you about to take all the way off, Sonny. I see you is what I'm saying. And honestly, to that point, you need to come to a dream game this season. So
I would love it.
Pull up on us in Atlanta. And then also Think Tank Productions. I have a production company as well, and we have kind of the same thought process. So let's team up on that. But you mentioned The View, and you said that this is your 7th year on The View. Congratulations. Like, what in the world? 3 million viewers. It's an iconic show. My wife watches it all the time.
Yes.
You mentioned something. I'm an athlete, and we know that athletes and entertainers, we kind of live in the same world, because it's not easy to prep for a daily show the same way I'm sure it's not easy to learn how to become a pro. They both take a tremendous amount of discipline. Right. So what does that kind of discipline look like in your daily life? Like, because for you to be doing everything that you just said out loud, I want to know, what does that prep look like?
It probably looks pretty ugly to people looking in, just like when you're practicing, right? Just like when you're trying to make sure that you're not missing at the line, right? It's it's repetition, it's drive, it's grit, it's never giving up. I mean, I don't sleep much. I figure sleep is overrated. So,
Wow.
you
So
know,
how many hours a night you think like you function well off of?
I can function okay on five.
Okay.
4 to 5, I'm fine. You know, 8, I don't really ever get to sleep 8. So I don't know really what that feels like. But I
Wow.
sleep around 4 to 5. The most I ever sleep is 7. And I start grinding the minute I wake up. I mean, I wake up, I meditate a little bit. I
What time
do
you waking up then to get all this in before
about
work? 'Cause
5, about 5.
honey.
And I do my quick workout. I do my sit-ups and my push-ups, and I meditate a little bit. And I have big dogs. I walk my dogs. I have 2 Newfoundlands, so they weigh about 150 pounds. So I walk my dogs.
What?
I have chickens. I feed my chickens, and then I start reading. I read in. I read in on, what did I miss at night, and I read actual hardcover newspapers. Sounds weird, but I like the way it feels better. I can trust the source. You read stuff on the internet, you can't really trust
Oh,
that.
that's
If
true.
I'm reading the New York Times or the Washington Post, I can source that, because people there are standards that they have to meet. So I read in, take a shower, and I get into the car and I continue reading. And
Why you reading in the car?
yeah, well, I have a driver.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's champagne life.
Okay, listen. Hey, you earned it, so we gonna talk about it. Black
I
excellence.
didn't always have a car, by the way. The car is new. I got a driver just this year. Thank you very much. That wasn't in my contract before, but it is in my contract now. And I had to negotiate that because everybody else had a car, but I didn't have a car.
You are a
And
lawyer.
yeah, I finally got one. And I keep on reading because our producers the night before send us about 60 hot topics that we have to read. And that's in addition to whatever books somebody is going to talk to us on the show about. I have to
Man.
watch films, I have to watch television shows, and then I have to read the hot topics. And then, in the morning we get another round of hot topics at 7. I usually leave my house at a little before 7. And our hot topics meeting is at 8:30. And I go to 1 because we have after show meetings. And then I start, sometimes I get to go to my daughter's track meet. She's an amazing athlete. Sometimes I get to go see a movie premiere. Sometimes I have to read in again, starting the next day. And then I write and I cook because, we don't really eat much out. And the day
Wow.
starts again.
Honey, that's crazy. I'm glad you really detailed it out because, like I talked about, being an athlete, that's how days look. They're stacked, and you thrive in it because you know you got to do it. Like I don't know how to explain to people, but when you know you need to do something, you have something to do, you just do it. And
You just do it.
I feel like entertainers understand that, and I know you're all these things, author, lawyer, but you're on a show every day with 3 million people watching. The
Yeah.
show must go on. Like that's what you learn when you're an athlete. And so, man, I just congrats on everything you're doing. And one last question I wanted to ask you is like, what kind of impact do you hope stories like Summer on Sag Harbor will have?
I think that there's a real place for stories that people write about our trauma. And I think it's necessary because we've been through so much as a community. And like I said before, our history is being erased. So I think we do need to write books like Cass. I think we need to write books about the Middle Passage. I think we need to write books about the criminal justice system. I think we need to write books about slavery and what was really done. I think we need to write books about the fact that white women owned slaves at sometimes even a higher rate than white men. There's a great book. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's called "And She Owned Property Too" or something like that. And I think it's important, but I also think it's important that out of the trauma and the tragedy came real excellence and resilience and joy and beauty. And I wanted to write to that. And so what I hope people come away with is we have been excellent from the very beginning. everything comes from us. The most exported culture of the United States is the Black culture, right? People don't talk about that a lot. Makes this country a lot of money. The most revered athletes like yourself come from, they're Black women, come from this country. And so we've owned homes in Martha's Vineyard since the late 1800s. Frederick Douglass had a summer home in Highland Beach, and his descendants still have that generational wealth. I think it's important that we know about it, we teach our kids about it, and we teach them that they're kings and they're queens and they have everything to be proud of.
Wow.
And that's what I hope people get from it.
Wow. I mean, that's beautiful. So if you guys, because I love Black excellence. Like my parents went to an HBCU. I feel like I was raised in Black. I'm an HBCU baby. So I grew up young knowing like, this is excellent. We are excellent.
Yep.
But with what's going on, even with books getting banned, write more. Like, I love that you're saying, like, let's just write more and see what happens. Let's
Write
just
more.
make sure that it's told, not even our way, the right way. That it's
Right
our
way.
stories, it's our history. Tell it the right way. So please, you guys, don't forget to pick up not one, but two. Summer on the Bluff, Summer on Sag Harbor, out everywhere now. And make sure you catch Sunny. Y'all know where Sunny at every day on The View, so I ain't got to tell y'all that. But thank you so much for joining me on Montgomery and Company. And I'm going to see you in the A. Pull up to a game.
Thank you. Good luck on your season. You know that.
Being a pro, man. So that's what today, like, I really start to realize that when you hear Sunny talk about her day, wake up at 5 to meditate, work out, read, and read some more. Being a pro is just all about discipline. You heard Nia Coffey. She said she just now figured out how to be a pro. And I'm like, girl, that's okay, because some people never figure out how to discipline themselves. And in sports, we have a saying that says, discipline yourself so others don't have to. And that's exactly what people are doing when they're an athlete. And that's exactly what Sunny is doing as an entertainer. So, being a pro ain't easy, but the rewards are nice. And honestly, it can create generational rewards, because it's a generational thing around here. I'll see y'all next week.